We don't gotta live life, leave it like it's a lie. Ride around the city lights.
Hello and welcome back to Natural Melanin. As I mentioned in a previous video, I did say I'll be coming back to start a series on the menopause called the Menopause Chit Chat. Still going through it as we speak, but I think I'm coming down the other side of the hill at this time. But I did want to go back to where it all began for me. Anyway, you're going to see me every month talking about the menopause because I feel this is a topic that we really do need to talk about. We're in 2021 and it's still a taboo subject. And I think to myself, even when I think about my friends, we still do not talk about it. We brush over the surface of this subject. And it will be very much like, oh, you're going through the menopause then? And it's like, oh, so how long have you been going through it? And they'll tell me something like 2-3 years. And I think, so why didn't you tell me? Why are we not talking about this? It's absolutely madness. I mean, when I think about my parents and how I grew, when I think about my mum as a youngster, even talking about periods was a big thing. And now I'm big and grown. I think to myself, hang on a minute. I'm not too sure how it is within white culture, but with black culture, a lot of things are very sort of hush hush and quiet and not to be talked about. And I feel this is one of those subjects that people really do not talk about. From the time you can see sex on TV, porn on the internet, all of these things, and it be a norm. Why are we not talking about the menopause? I don't get it. I don't. Mind my outbursts. I'm having a moment. Right, I'm just going to do a little woosah. Let me get back to where I was. Anyway, this is going to be a monthly series, end of each month, talking about the menopause and my experience of the menopause. Today, I thought I would start with where it all began for me. It was more hormonal imbalances that started to sort of surface. I was 36 and I remember it so well. I was working in a bridal studio and it's one lunchtime. I had this sort of heart flutter and I thought to myself, oh my God, what's that? What's going on? And it would last for about 30 seconds to about a minute and then just disappear. That happened one day. Then probably a couple of days later, the same thing happened again. Again at work, had that heart flutter. And again, it would last for about a minute. This happened maybe in a space of sort of 2 weeks. It happened about 3 or 4 times. And the thing is, the reason why I remember it, because I always write things down. The minute I feel something's not right with my body, I have a habit of writing it down, when it happened, what date it happened, what year. And that's what I've done with the menopause here. So anyhow, I have to go to the doctors. I can relay all this information, date, time, whenever it happened. So coming back to the heart flutters, that happened for about 2 weeks. Then it sort of disappeared for a while. That was August, September time. Now, moving forward to October of that same year, I remember waking up, and I remember it specifically, it was my grandmother's birthday. I woke up out of my bed. Oh my God. I don't know what this experience it was. I really felt like I'm going to die today. Just a second. Okay. Let me get myself back. I remember getting out of my bed. I just got this sort of dizzy feeling that came across. I actually had to hold on to furniture. I held on to the wall, I held on to my bed, because I really wanted to lose, so that's where I was heading for. And I just felt this feeling of, a horrible rush feeling, where my heart was fluttering, my head was spinning, I'm holding on to the wall. No one was in the house at the time, just me by myself. And I actually thought I was going to die. It was that shocking an experience that said to me, there's more to this. What's going on? As I mentioned, I had the heart flutters probably about 6 weeks earlier for a good sort of 2-3 week span. I let that go. I thought, right, just probably I've been overworking or something. Then this happened in the October, a month later, and I'm thinking, no, Lynn, there's something not right here. Like I said, it was a dizzy spell. It's an unbalancedness of myself that I'm actually having to hold onto the wall to prop myself up without falling. I'm not even too sure how long this lasted for, because I quickly went to the loo, came back to my bed. Again, I'm still holding onto the wall. And I just collapsed back in bed. I thought, no. I just pulled the covers over me and I thought, no, this is going to go away. This has to go away. And I tried to sort of take it out of my head and let it pass. That feeling passed. I remember waking up probably about lunchtime, around lunchtime. This probably happened about 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. By about lunchtime, I'm waking up very slowly now, because I wasn't too sure whether I was going to feel that same experience. Woke up absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. And I thought, oh, maybe it's not something to panic about just yet. Let's not panic just yet. So again, I let that go. Again, I let it go. A month later now, I had my first panic attack in November 2003. That was the catalyst for me to go to the doctors. I remember I was actually going to the cinema with my mum, my sister, and my brother, I think. And I remember being on a double-decker bus, going to the cinema. This feeling of panic took hold of me. I let it go for maybe about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And I thought, I can't hold this. I can't hold this. I think I'm going to have a panic attack with a bus load of people. And I'm thinking to myself, where is the bus stop? When are we stopping? Where's the next bus stop? I'm having to tell my mum and my sister we're getting off at the next stop. They're looking at me to think I'm freaking crazy. I said, no, got to get off. I've got to get off. I think I'm having a panic attack. I need to get off the bus. And I was virtually trying to compose myself, not freak out, not show other people that I'm freaking out, but do it quite calmly at the same time. And the minute that we got to this bus stop and I got off the bus, I remember it being dark. I remember it being cold. I virtually had the back of my jacket because I felt so hot. And yeah, I just couldn't keep myself together. I just couldn't. And I felt, like I said, this anxiety, this panic that came over me. Couldn't get back on the bus. We had to just walk from where I was to the cinema at that point. And yeah, so walking to the cinema, I thought, right, let my heart just calm down. Probably about 10-15 minute walk we had. And yeah, like I said, the family thought I was crazy right at this point. I'm trying to compose myself, pull it together. And I said, I don't know what's coming over me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just felt this sort of urge to freak out and panic. And by the time I got to the cinema, the next thing that happened was got through the lower floor of the cinema, came up the escalators, walking into the reception of the lobby of the reception of the cinema, where you buy all your popcorn and everything else and pay for your tickets. The minute that door opened, because it was a sliding door, the minute it's one of those automatic doors that opened. The minute that door opened, I virtually nearly fainted. It was the contrast of the cold to the heat of the way that door opened, that virtually knocked me over. I just couldn't compose myself. I remember, I think the manager of the cinema had to call an ambulance because I lost it by that point. Had to get me a chair to sit down. It was a horrible feeling. So forget the cinema, it wasn't going to happen that day. So paramedics came out. I just had a panic attack at that point. That was my first ever experience of a panic attack. And all this led from, as I mentioned, from August to November. From the heart palpitations, the flutters, to waking up out of my bed with a sort of dizzy spell and grabbing the wall, to having a slight anxiety attack on the bus, to now having a full-blown panic attack at the cinema. Paramedics took me into the ambulance, off to the hospital, just to get me checked over. And by the time the nurses and doctors had got to me, I had calmed down by that point, back to my normal self. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing here? It's not that serious. But in my head, I'm thinking, it's serious, but not serious at the same time. I'm thinking there's something going on with my body, but I just couldn't work out what. And I said to myself, I'm going to make an appointment to see the doctors on Monday. By the time I got into to see the doctors at the hospital now, I think they worked out to be that I had an anxiety attack or panic attack at that point. So it's something that I'm just going to have to calm down, work through. And that was about it. There was not much else that they could do at that point, not at the hospital. They were just telling me, you've just had a panic attack. So ask me the usual question, am I stressed? Do you mean what's brought it about? What do you think's brought it about? Etc, etc. I had no answers. It just felt like I was wasting their time. That's the feeling I felt. Not that they were giving off that feeling to me, but that's how I felt. So I made an appointment to go to the doctors the following week. And again, they did some blood tests and so forth. Couldn't find anything. So it was very much me having to deal with this on my own, because they couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. For you ladies out there who may have the same experience as me, similar stories to tell, and you can't work out what it is, what's causing this, I'm going to tell you now. This is the start of those imbalances that happen before menopause. I'm actually going to come back and talk some more about this, because there's other things that did happen after my going to the doctors and them not being able to do much except for send me for a blood test, which came up normal. If you happen to go for blood tests, because your hormones fluctuate. The day you decide to go to have your blood test done may not be the day that your hormones are playing up. So that can give a very false negative result. That's one thing I will tell you, because I've been to the doctors a few times and it's always come up a false negative result, and I'm thinking there is definitely something wrong, but I couldn't work out what it was. I couldn't for the life of me work out what it was. They couldn't work out what it was. But no one ever talks about menopause at that point, because I'm only 36. I was only 36 at that time. So the thought of menopause didn't even cross their mind. And that this could be a sign of those hormonal imbalances starting to happen. I will come back and talk more about the anxiety and the panic attacks, because this video is getting too long now. So I'm going to come back in another video and talk a bit more about the anxieties, how I got through the panic and everything else, because my daughter was one that helped me on this one. And just to add, at that time, she was only 11, 12 years old at that time. But mummy needed her help. So I will come back and talk about where it went from there. Yeah, that's the end of this video, today's video. If you're experiencing something very similar, put it down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next menopause chit chat.